They have 3 races, unusually. One is a carryover from Le Mans, so that's at the end of the day. This, the second of the 2, if you like, planned races of the weekend, with the usual double-header format, of course, for Super Trofeo. And yesterday's race was one that was affected in part by penalties, but even so, delivered some really good racing, and the cars make their way now up towards the grid, ready for 50 minutes of drama that will be getting underway very shortly indeed. David Addison trackside. Yesterday, the race was won by Matteo Michelotto and Andrea Frasinetti, although Amaury Bonduel, who looked as though he was going to be on target for a win, was given a penalty, and it meant that ultimately he fell a long way down the order, finishing in 24th place overall. So Matteo Michelotto and Andrea Frasinetti, the winners yesterday, from Oliver Söderström and Lagum Ali, which was good news for them because they're trying to catch Bonduel in the championship. And third yesterday, Edgar Moin and Georgi Dimitrov, the British driver from Edgar Eroshev. Fifth were Giorgio Amati and Yeti Salmonautio, and Pavel Lefterov and Stefan Bostanshev rounded out the top 6. So the grid making its way into place. We've lost Marco Gersager's car after damage yesterday, but even so, it's a very big field of 44 cars that we have, and we can head down to the grid and hear from Matteo Michelotto. Dakota Jane is there to have a word with the Italian.
Matteo, ieri hai vinto in gara, oggi che ti pensa?
Oggi vogliamo fare lo stesso, vogliamo partire bene, vogliamo fare una bella rimonta. E sarà difficile perché Bonduel ha un po' più di esperienza confronto ad Andrea, però sono sicuro che Andrea darà il massimo in partenza e vediamo come va.
This is going to be good points for your championship. Obviously you're not racing in the next race with Andrea. Do you have confidence in him starting the race today?
Sì, secondo me Andrea è molto fiducioso in partenza e vediamo cosa succederà alla prima curva.
A little bit of a translation as what you said. You can go get ready or wish Andrea good luck. Matteo is obviously very confident starting the race today. He was very happy with yesterday's race after Bonduel had made a mistake which landed him in P1. He's very happy with Andrea starting the race today, so let's see how they go.
They need to have another good result for points for the championship. So an element of pressure on both of them today, although Michelotto has done much of the season on his own. Frasinetti joining him sort of late in the year rather than being a season-long combination of drivers. There is Amaury Bonduel, who is aboard 28, and Amaury Bonduel, who has just looked so quick this year, but problems get in the way a little bit, you know, whether it's a track limit problem or a punctured tyre or whatever it's been. The pace hasn't always been reflected in the race results, but he'll be eager to bag points today. Let's hear next, though, from Lagum Ali. He starts on the second row.
Lagum, now you're starting the same place you started yesterday, P4, but today's a much nicer day. You've overtaken Bonduel for the championship after yesterday's result of a P2. How are you feeling about today's race?
Well, we're exactly where we need to be, where we want to be. I told Oliver to do about the same, just not replicate what I did in turn 1. That was a bit stupid, but it worked anyway. But yeah.
What did you learn from yesterday? Obviously, you said you made a mistake in turn 1, but so did Bonduel. So obviously, you saw the penalty he got. That's definitely not the mistake you want to make today. What did you learn from yesterday?
Oh, that's what I told Oliver. Just stay away from that. Just do the first part that I did at the start, and just dismiss the second part in the T1.
Obviously, this is conditions today is much more like what we had in free practice 1 and 2. Yesterday was a bit of a gamble for the tyres. Today, tyres are looking slick all the way through the race. Are you happy with that?
Sort of. I like the 50-50, like the wet and the dry. Like you have to find the balance. You have to look where the dry spots are. I love that. Well, dry is nice as well.
Good luck to you and Oliver for today.
Oliver Söderström will start. Lagum Ali will take over in that car. And a little bit further back on the grid, look in the Iron Lynx car. Iron Lynx had its first American win yesterday. And the team that has switched in the last couple of years to Lamborghini, very busy outfit, running factory programs, customer cars, and going from strength to strength. So the Super Trofeo teams then await the countdown, ready for the rolling start. And we can go back to the grid. Because starting a little bit further back in number 41 is Hampus Eriksson, another of the target racing drivers, Hampus Eriksson. Let's hear from him with Dakota.
Hampus, first year in Super Trofeo. What's it been like this year?
Oh, it's been a lot to learn, a lot to push. It's super competitive out there, and like I said, I learn everything. I learn a lot every weekend, and sometimes I struggle, sometimes I do well, but I have a great team behind me who helps me a lot and great teammates. So sometimes we qualify good, like today we're starting P7. We will see how far up we can get, hopefully a podium.
Obviously, being part of the Young Drivers program, has that also helped you?
Yeah, of course. It's helped me a lot. Every weekend we have meetings, talking to Nikki and the other drivers, really sharing the experience between each other, which helps me a lot as it's my first year, but I'm super grateful.
Obviously, being from quite a cold country, this is going to be a hot race for you today. Can you manage the heat?
Yeah, I hope I can. It was very hot Friday with the practice sessions, but as soon as you get into the bubble, you just see straight, and it's totally 100% focus, so it won't be a problem.
We'll let you get focused. Good luck. Thank you.
Hampus Eriksson, former single-seater racer in the UK and elsewhere, switching now to a GT future, he hopes, and has had a good season learning about a rather different sort of race car. So there, Simon Gachet aboard number 83. And he will go first. Greg Gilver walked away from the car. Simon Gachet, of course, we know from GT3 racing. Greg Gilver from GT4. So Simon Gachet will be a man to watch. And the 3-minute board now being shown. Number 11 ended up in the wall yesterday, Bronek Formanek's car, but Stefan Rossina is the driver that we're going to hear from next, the co-driver in that car with Dakota.
Stefan Rossina obviously leading the championship by 12.5 points. Are you ready for today's race?
Well, let's see. I guess we are starting really up front now, so we would be focusing on our opponents, but yeah, we are ready.
I'll let you get focused. Thank you very much.
And there, looking further down the grid, is the Stefan Bostanjiv Pavel Lefterov car that Pavel Lefterov will start today, another of the Iron Lynx cars. And very shortly, the formation lap is going to get underway. So the field ready to be released. Number 30, you can see, is Quentin Antonel for CMR, Classic Modern Racing. And that car starting a little bit further back on the grid, but Quentin Antonel, one of the pro drivers. Right, so there the grid now being cleared. Amaury Bonduelle, the man on pole position, with Andrea Frasinetti lining up alongside. Joran Lernetre, former Clio racer, starts third, and Oliver Söderström is on the outside, fourth on the grid. Number 50, looking down, is the car of Rodrigo Testa, the DL Racing entered car. And with the 1-minute board ready, that's when the engines fire up and the grid will be cleared. And then we're going to get set to go racing. You can see Joran Lernetre, number 4, and the very distinctive turquoise, almost Leighton House colours. And on the outside there is Oliver Söderström. 1-minute board then, engines will fire, the signal is given, the mechanics will rush from the grid, and then we will be good to go for this penultimate race of the weekend, because there's one more helping of Lamborghini Super Trofeo racing from a grid based on a totally different track. They will use the grid set at Le Mans for that third race, whereas this was from the second qualifying session. And in some cases, of course, different driver lineup in the car, or it might be that it's a solo effort, not a double driver entry, because if you didn't do the Le Mans first race, you can't do the one that's here. So we'll come to that in due course. Right, number 83 is being warned about the wrong driver ID in the car, but I'm pretty sure we did see Greg Gilver standing next to it. There was confusion over that, and also number 14 yesterday as to who the start driver was. Kevin Gilardoni was shown as starting yesterday and again today in number 14, and the question mark is still there over 83. So the green flag lap underway. cars accelerate then now down towards turn 1. And Amaury Bonduelle will lead them through as he now tries, like the rest, to get some warmth into the Hankook rubber. A great sight a grid of these cars makes, a great sound too. And Lamborghini Super Trofeo that really has grown and grown in popularity over recent seasons. The calendars for next year being announced. There's going to be more Lamborghini Super Trofeo at GT events rather than WEC next year, which is going to be great to have them back more regularly. Amaury Bonduelle then is the man on pole position, and it is Andrea Frasinetti starting second on the grid ahead of Joran Lenertre and then Oliver Söderström. Starting 5th, Stefan Rossina. And Simon Gachet is going to go from 6th on the grid. 7th is where you find Hampus Eriksson, and Egor Orodchev will be 8th. Then it's Rodrigo Testa and Quentin Antonel. Next up, Enzo Guaracci for Oregon, Pavel Lefterov for Iron Lynx. After that, another of the Iron Lynx drivers, the quick Finn, Jesse Salmon-Autio, and the former GT4 champion, Rui Meerhaus, alongside. Row 8. From Clio's, Jetse Spinkovics and Ibrahim Badawi alongside of him. Then Matej Pavlicek and Benedetto Strignano in turn ahead of Sebastian Balthazar and Edgar Malloy, who went well yesterday. Then you've got Anthony McIntosh, who won the Pro-Am class yesterday. He lines up alongside Kevin Gilardoni or Pietro Perolini. I think it should be Perolini to start today, but next is Laurent Hergon and then Lucas Valkra. We've got Kalle Bergman next up with Anthony Nara alongside from Milos Pavlovic and Cedric Lima, who ended up in the gravel yesterday. Then Stefan Guerin and Hoi Lin Han. Cyril Salai drives on his own, as does Adrian Lewandowski. Shota Abkhazova comes next. John Seal alongside, having been roughed up in yesterday's race. The 18th row, Rodrigue Gion, is alongside Holger Harmsen. Row 19 is Alfredo Hernandez Ortega and Nigel Bailly, who was on the podium yesterday, the disabled driver Nigel Bailly, ahead of Oliver Freimut and Pier Giacomo Randazzo. Then Luciano Privitello and Karim Auger, who had a puncture after contact yesterday. Paolo Bilieri, who was a class winner yesterday, and Laszlo Toff on the back row of the grid. So that is how they line up, ready to go. The field turning its way down to turn 13, ready for the lights to be changed, the race to get underway. 50 minutes with the mandatory pit stop, and that difference in the pit stop times for the solo and double driver entries. Lights go green, race underway, they blast down towards turn 1, and a good start by Amaury Bonduelle then to take the advantage as he sweeps across the front of Andrea Frasinetti to hang on to the lead. In 3rd place, right there behind them, Joran Lenertre, and on the outside in the green and black car, it is Oliver Söderström as they dive through turn 1. This huge field of 44 of them pour their way through, one off the road, but rejoins in exactly the right place. So, if you like, takes the bypass, doesn't get a penalty for rejoining around the corner rather than in the middle of it. And Amaury Bonduelle weaving around to try and get a bit more warmth into the tyres on this opening lap of the race. Downhill they drop for the first time, out of turn 5 then. So, up front, Amaury Bonduelle trying to get away, making good his escape. But Andrea Frasinetti chasing after him. The winner yesterday in strife already, look, because 2 have come to blows. 77 you can see there. That is Alfredo Hernandez Ortega. Karim Auger, who was in the wars yesterday, is not having a very happier time today either. They should both be able to get going again as the cars now accelerate up through the right-hander of turn 9. At the end of the back straight, hard on the brakes, sweep through turn 10, and a big dive being made there. Look, through under braking, number 70 that is. That's the car that Sebastian Balthazar is behind the wheel of, and he's gained ground with a brave pass as you ride on board now. Number 33, this is the car that Milos Pavlovic drives in stint 1. and the very experienced Pavlovich looking for a way through the traffic as he tries the outside line. There's another spinner out of turn 10, but should be able to rejoin as the leader comes up now towards the timing line. Amaury Bonduelle getting away. Andrea Frasinetti in second place, and another one has come to grief there in the gravel. That, by the look of it, is Holger Harmsen's car. The leaders go through then at the end of the opening lap. So Bonduelle almost a second to the good, and not the only one in the gravel is Holger Harmsen, because number 40 has arrived on the scene as well, Nigel Bailly, the disabled driver, wheelchair user, and that means that I fear to get those out of the way we're going to have the safety car, because those two pretty well beached off the road. So the field turns up through turn 4, and the race leaders trying to get away. Bonduelle and Frasinetti a little bit further back. We've got then the different classes being argued over. Pausing just to see what develops. There is a safety car board being prepared in front of me, and the yellow lights flash. That drama was on the way up towards turn 11. There is a recovery vehicle on its way, but I think the race director, if he can keep it going, will do, but we'll see whether that's going to be viable in a moment when the cars go through that incident zone. Heading up the hill then, there is one of the two that's in the gravel, and you'll see the cars on track about to go sweeping through that part of the circuit. So, safety car deployed. Safety car conditions at the end of the lap. We go safety car in the second Super Trofeo race of the weekend. So there is Amaury Bonduelle. He will lead the way, coming down now to the exit of turn 14, up to the pit straight. Safety car is there, ready to scoop him up. And through they go, with no overtaking permitted, and of course all of this eating into the time available in the race. So it's going to take a lap or two to get those two cars out of the gravel. The first one that went off, Holger Harmsen, may have had a tap, Nigel Bailly likewise, but the net result is that both need shifting. And also in the case of Nigel Bailly, there's the extraction of the driver, which is not as easy as it is, Nigel being a wheelchair user, it's not as easy as another driver just hop out of the car and run through the gravel on their own. Those that were delayed, like Karim Moget, just playing catch-up, he's gone across the line with Alfredo Hernandez Ortega. So the incident team working now to remove the cars. Maybe, in fact, that the drivers are allowed to stay in them and they can drive them back to the pit lane. But safety car on track then here. Replay of the start. Good getaway by Bonduelle. Really good, given the margin that was between him and Frasinetti when the lights changed. But Frasinetti quickly back into the wheel tracks and got a tow, and was then able to try to make that move on the outside when they charged down towards the first corner. And amazingly, given 44 cars trying to get into one line, although a few ran wide and off the circuit, there was no real contact, no real drama there. Perversely, it came a bit further around the lap. Sweeping out of turn 4, Amaury Bonduelle in the lead, and being able to build that gap a little bit over the opening lap of the race. The first casualty, though, midway around that corner. And then more and more dramas came as the cars try to sort themselves out. The net result being that we lost 2 into the gravel. So on cold tyres, 1 or 2 drivers having problems. I think Holger Harmsen is on his way, and then Nigel Bailly's car has been pulled out of the gravel bed, so the officials just check that he's okay. And possibly say, wait for the safety car to go. But no, Nigel Bailly is going to go in advance. He's got a gap that he can plug, so he makes the run now back onto the circuit, and that means the road pretty much is going to be clear next time around. So Holger Harmsen will go a lap down, Nigel Bailly likewise. So currently we are on lap 3, and these laps counting within the duration. Nigel Bailly bringing that car down the pit road in a moment to retire from the race. So the field over the line, all these Huracan Evos with plenty of aero, plenty of grunt, plenty of pace, and a great championship with these 6 weekends of doubleheader action. So down out of turn 3 they will come in a moment, and we await confirmation as to when the safety car may well peel back in, because the road is clear, the incident vehicles are off track, and a 10-second time penalty to number 90, which is Holger Harmsen. Now that was under investigation for the incident with Nigel Bailly, and 10 seconds are being added to his time. So, 10-second penalty given to Holger Harmsen. He's a lap down anyway after being in the gravel. Nigel Bailly out of the race, seemingly, having come down the pit road. And the safety car will be in this lap. We will go racing this time around then. The pit straight really busy, as often it is at this event, because the event promoter, Jesus Pozzo, puts a lot of effort into the weekend as a festival of racing and automotive, with car club displays and plenty of merchandise areas, accessory shops as well, plus what's on the track. So a good family day out for people that like fast cars, and many of them come from the car park into the main grandstand and then into the paddock to go and drool over the supercars that are here. And there are 40 plus to keep drooling over in this race. There is Nigel Bailly in the pits, the team just making a decision as to whether that car is going to be able to rejoin. The start is being investigated as well now, we understand. Lights out atop the safety car, and it now will make that run down towards the final corner. It is up to Amaury Bonduelle now to control the pace. Bonduelle floors the throttle coming out of turn 14. Green flag flies, and we're back up and running as he goes through. So Amaury Bonduelle down towards the first corner, being chased by Andrea Frasinetti, and then Joran Lernotre in third place, keeping Oliver Söderström at bay before you've got the battle between Stéphane Rossina and Simon Gachet behind as they drop now out of turn 1. Nobody being overly heroic, oddly, on that restart to try to gain ground, but as the field now turns up through the right-hander of turn 3, Amaury Bonduelle trying to build that lead once again. As ever, track limits are going to be a factor, and as ever, making sure the pit stop is done to the correct time and not too short, that's going to factor in as well. 83, that's the Gilvet and Gachet car, right on the back of Stéphane Rossina, former Porsche Super Cup racer, but more recently we've seen him in GT2. So Stéphane Rossina, quick driver, good to have him in this category as well. As there, the sister car makes a real bid on the inside. 22, that was, in the hands of Matej Pavlicek. Couldn't quite find a way through on the inside of Miros Pavlovic, but not for the want of trying. So Pavlovic able to close the door. Rest of the field battle through, including the number 14 of Pietro Perolini, and that car that he shares with Kevin Gilardoni. But Bonduelle is rebuilding that lead, isn't he? He is getting away again as the car's coming down through turn 10 now. Another challenge being made there. 30 you can see just ahead. That is Quentin Antonel. 41 right up behind is Pavel Lefterov. And Antonel, having moved himself through briefly, then drops back again. So Pavel Lefterov retaliates, takes the place back, and gets on with the programme. Number 57, solo driver, Edgar Oroshev. That means he's got to do a longer pit stop. Edgar Oroshev will serve an extra 3 seconds in the pits, because the decision has always been taken that if you're on your own, you've got a better feeling of the track and the car going into the second stint, rather than a driver who is completely fresh into it. So just to try to balance that, that's a slightly longer pit stop time for the solo drivers. More drama up at turn 12. 2 more facing the wrong way. And Cedric Lima is one. He was in the gravel yesterday. That's the one that's not moving. And that car that has got itself going again will be through in a moment. That could well be Oliver Freimuth, who has yet to come across the timing line. So Lima also now is on the move once more, and hopefully that means the road is going to be clear, even though 2 more cars have been rather badly delayed. The leaders accelerate their way now up from turn 5 down the hill. Another challenge is being made there in the background by Pavlicek. To the pit lane comes Lima with damage by the look of it. So contact may well have done a tyre on that car. Keeping out of trouble is pretty important in all of this. As you've seen, it's such a crowded grid. Another big dive being made on the inside there. And it pays off as well. So that, looking further down the order, I think right in saying was Milos Pavlovic on his toes, getting up through the traffic. Another one taking to the curb there, number 43 of Edgar Malloy in the car that he shares with Georgi Dimitrov. That's quite a long way down, given where it was in yesterday's race. They were on the podium yesterday. Another car worth watching, number 15 there, is on a mission. Alberto Di Falco sharing with Benedetto Strignano. Di Falco is the quicker of the two. Di Falco will take over in the second stint, but Strignano also going nicely now, recovering after a not great qualifying. Race leaders go through. So Bonduelle up front, Frasinetti in second place. The gap 11/10 of a second last time, at 1.2 on this lap. So Bonduelle, Frasinetti, Lemaitre, Söderström and Stefan Rossina now up ahead, and so too Edgar Oroshev of Simon Gachet, who's fallen back a couple of places in number 83. Number 50 going through, heading the next train, Rodrigo Testa. Jerzy Spinkovic behind him, graduating from Renault Clio's, in which he's been a race winner in the last few seasons, to something much more powerful. And then Sebastian Balthazar right up behind him in the red and blue livery. So more shuffling of the order as the cars now come up through the right-hander of turn 4. Still a bit of a climb in the road at that point. There's a yellow flag out somewhere in the first sector as well, so the incidents continue. The drama continues in Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe, and of course they need the cars for the third race, the Le Mans replacement at the end of the day. That's due to start at 10 minutes to 5 local time. As there, through goes Amaury Bonduelle, building the lead. 1.2 seconds and just edging away sector by sector. The turquoise car going nicely third of Joran Lemaitre. He will hand that over to Claude-Yves Gosselin. It's a Pro-Am car, so it's the class-leading Pro-Am car at the moment. Lemaitre is quicker than Gosselin these days. He's probably about half his age in respect, but Joran Lemaitre going really nicely here. Battle for 9th also is raging on, where you've got Lefterov, Antonell, and just up the road ahead of them is Hampus Eriksson. So the race leader has gone by, Amaury Bonduelle now with 7 laps in the book and 5.5 minutes until he gets to the pit stop window. So Bonduelle goes by with Andrea Frasinetti in second place, Joran Lemaitre there in the turquoise car third, Oliver Söderström 4th, 5th it's Rossina, 6th is Oroshev, next up Hampus Eriksson, and that means that Simon Gachet has lost another place aboard number 83. Turning now through turn 1, but the lap times of the Guilbert and Gachet car does make one wonder whether it's all good. It's being caught by those behind as well, so maybe it's got a problem there. Big battle on as Benedetto Strignano tries to get up through the traffic alongside Ibrahim Badoui, and he's going to be through, is he, by the time they get to turn 4. Badoui tries to make life difficult, but Strignano says, oh no, you don't. They go past a stranded car, which is Oliver Freimuth, going no further. And in the meantime, the race leader is on lap 8, but Benedetto Strignano now gaining ground, and Ibrahim Badoui coming under renewed attack. It's going to be Edgar Malloy up behind him. Badoui tries to retaliate at Strignano, brakes way too late, throws himself out wide, and hands the place to Malloy. Damage there, look, as well on Ibrahim Badoui's car. So under braking down towards turn 10, 1 or 2 have a tentative look on the inside. Strignano there, Malloy behind him, and as you look further down the queue, that is Pietro Parolini in the Oregon team car. Petrolini in 23rd place, the car that he shares with Kevin Gilardoni, who started yesterday. Pietro Parolini starts today. Number 33 also in the queue a little bit further back, that is Milos Pavlovic, one to watch as ever. But the race leader is now over 2 seconds to the good as Amaury Bonduelle aims to outscore Matteo Michelotto, who will take over the car in second place. And Bonduelle, after a penalty yesterday, needs to fight back here. Now, Benedetto Strignano must give one place back for overtaking under the yellow flag. Strignano in number 15 we've been talking about, but a penalty looms in as much as he's got to give back one spot. It was taken in the view of race control with the yellow flags showing, so not allowed. Number 13 there is the Schumacher CLRT entry of Stefan Guerin, the Schumacher CLRT squad that has come into GT racing as a new entity. Two teams merged, but running cars in Porsches, in Lamborghini, in GT4, in GT3. It is quite a project that Com Ledegar and his merry men have taken on. Cedric Lima is being given now a 5-second time penalty for causing a collision. So Cedric Lima, who is a long way back anyway in 42nd place, will cop a penalty. And with 2.5 minutes of the pit window opening, the leaders come down towards turn 10. Joran Lernertra not being able to stay with Frasinetti, but he is being able to peg that gap to Oliver Söderström. And Söderström is, with Largim Ali, chasing Bonduelle in the championship and has a better chance of getting up with Bonduelle than does Michelotto. So in real terms, in points I mean, so in real terms here it's Söderström that needs to be getting on with the job, and he's struggling to match the pace of Lernertra. Car number 24 is being given a black flag. That is Oliver Freimut, who's got going again, but he's now being given a black flag. So Freimut being called into the pit lane. And there's a pit stop penalty going to Holger Harmson as well for repeated track limits offences. He's got one for causing a collision, and now he's got another penalty for track limit woes. That'll be served at the pit stop. And the pit window will be open for some by the end of the next lap, not for all. Down they come then to turn 1. The leader is already over at turn 5, and Amaury Bonduelle with Andrea Frasinetti chasing after him. Drops downhill. Into the pit lane is coming Alfredo Hernandez Ortega, but it's slightly before the pit window has opened. He'll get to his team at about the right point, but he came in before the window had officially opened. In the meantime, there is number 61, the Oregon entry of Enzo Garacci that runs 11th. Jesse Salman Autio is behind, other of the Iron Lynx drivers, and Salman Autio thought about feinting to the inside and having a look, but couldn't do it. Salman Autio looking the quicker. He was part of the Mad Panda Motorsport GT3 squad last year, moves to Super Trofeo this year with Lamborghini commitments, and is all over the back now of Garacci. Race leaders go through, so they can't pit yet, but the back markers might be able to. Pit window is now open, so the back markers could get the stops out of the way, and in fact one of the first to bail is going to be 22, so in has already come Matej Pavlicek to give way to Joachim Galash. Parolini is in for Gilardoni, and significantly number 15 Benedetto Strignano comes in to give way to Alberto Di Folco, former champion. Just through shot went Strignano. Number 74 stops on his marks, that being Anthony Nara, to give way to the underrated Dimitri Engelbert. And Amaury Bonduelle continues to lead, but he's got back markers up the road. Now that might just be a catalyst for when the team decide it's time for the pit stop. Rather than him waste time in back markers, get him into the pits, get that stop done. More and more of them coming into the pits as the leader lines up to move ahead there of Cedric Lima and gets that job done down into turn 10. The other aspect about when to make your pit stop is you don't want to get blocked in a very crowded pit lane. Even though it's a big pit lane, it's a big entry as well. So you need to try to make sure that when you come in, there's nobody certainly in front and ideally not behind as well, because the last thing you need is to lose time trying to get into your pit box and also lose time trying to wriggle free the other side of the stop. Amaury Bonduelle has done 10, now 11 laps of the race. Frasinetti is in, and so also is Oliver Söderström. So pit stop cycling through now. There, coming down the pit road is Andrea Frasinetti. Mattia Michelotto will take over that car. And others, the other side of the pit stops, you can see now rejoining the race. So the pit lane continues to be busy, and Amaury Bonduelle is going to find, of course, that the feel of his race becomes a little bit different as more and more cars are released from the pit stops. Where he thought the road was going to be quite empty, suddenly will get busy. More track limit warnings are being thrown around, and more pit stops are being served. Then it's one mandatory stop. And 3 seconds longer if you're on your own, and Bonduelle is, compared to a double driver entry. So Bonduelle's pit stop will have to be just that little bit longer, and that's going to affect him in relation to number 6. There, Mattia Michelotto now at the wheel, that car getting ready to go. So the car's turning up through turn 12, this is the mid-pack. They're going by Alberto Di Folco, who's taken over number 15 now from Benedetto Strignano. And as the leading Pro Cup cars exit the pit lane, Largim Ali there in the green and black colours chases after the all-white car of Mattia Michelotto. And the leader is in. So down the pit road has just come, there he is, Amaury Bonduelle. And Amaury Bonduelle will arrive at the team. They will be in charge of the stopwatch to make sure that everything is done absolutely correctly. So in comes Bonduelle, the BDR competition by Gruppo Prom entry. And that really has been the benchmark car this year. Bonduelle getting more and more experience of these cars season on season. But this is the opposition then. So now Mattia Michelotto, the winner yesterday, has taken over from Andrea Frasinetti. The other win that he had was the Friday Le Mans race, but Michelotto now pressing on. There's another penalty being given. It goes to 22 Matej Pavlicek for causing a collision. He's given that car over now to Joachim Galasch anyway, but the penalty will be applied at the end of the race. So there's Bonduelle, waiting, biding his time. Keeps the engine fired. Car burbles away, ready to be released down the pit road. He is pretty close to pit exit, so he doesn't have that much drive time the other side of the stop to do, but he wants to get out ahead of that white car you just saw of Mattia Michelotto. That is the one he's fighting against within the championship. There, Michelotto comes through. He's fighting with him in the race as well, and Michelotto accelerates now up towards the timing line. So Bonduelle is on his way and quickly at pit exit, so he's up to speed. Here comes Michelotto on the pit straight. It's going to be touch and go. Bonduelle will get ahead, or stay ahead, but then can Michelotto strike on this lap? The answer is I think he can strike, and they're going to be absolutely together as they go through turn 2. So Mattia Michelotto then, one further lap into his stint, knows what the car feels like now, but of course for Bonduelle, he's been in it since the start, so he's really at one with that car. He knows what the track feels like as well. Tyres won't have lost too much temperature, and he accelerates up towards turn 4 using a lot more of the curb on the outside of the course there. Down to turn 5, the top 2 then. And at the end of this lap, we'll get a proper idea of the gap. Mattia Michelotto there making this car really sing. He's a bit more experienced in Lamborghini terms than is Andrea Frasinetti, whereas Amaury Bonduelle, second season in these cars, knows exactly how to make them tick as well. So it's a fight really here between two of the top drivers in the championship, and 24 minutes still on the clock. Down towards turn 10 they come. Michelotto feints to the inside, but he was too far back for that to be a realistic pass. There, third is Largim Ali, and he wants those two to get themselves together and delay each other further up the road, because that would then give him a chance of catching up. But at the moment, it's looking a bit unlikely. So there goes Bonduelle. Michelotto chasing after him, and as they drop down to turn 14, neither car particularly is changing the situation in as much as Bonduelle is not really gapping Michelotto and Michelotto is not really closing. So a stalemate has panned out within a lap. 23 minutes on the clock as they go by. And over the timing line, that margin between the pair of them now is still advantage Bonduelle. It was 0.8 of a second when they came by. So that now the one to look for as more pit stops are completed. More cars back out of the pit lane. So Joran Lernertre leads, but he's yet to stop. And Pavel Lefterov is second, and he has yet to stop. After that, the order all becomes a bit more shuffled. So the pit window with 2.5 more minutes of it available. And there, further back in the queue, number 70, which is now Jakob Riegel, tries to go through, and he does go through on the inside and gains a place. The last few pit stops are cycling through as well. Jerzy Spinkovic up on the inside there, number 25. Spinkovic's always a spectacular driver, a real hard charger as well. And going after Jakob Riegel as they swing now out of turn 9. The one they've just got ahead of looks like being Georgi Dimitrov. And that car just has not clicked today the way that it did yesterday, surprisingly. Although Dimitrov is trying to fight back on the run down towards turn 10. Spinkovic's there on the back of Riegel. They turn their way uphill again into turn 12, and Joran Lernertre, the race leader, is not far away from making his mandatory pit stop, doing as much of the driving as he can before he hands that car over to Claude-Yves Gosselin. The Oregon twins side by side, and there, big dive up the inside line by number 27, which is now Stéphane Lebré at the wheel. This is Lernertre, the leader in. He's not going to keep the overall lead, but he and Claude-Yves Gosselin for a Pro-Am win is a possibility. In behind them as well has just come Pavel Lefterov to give way to Stéphane Bostangiv. So that will now briefly put Milos Pavlovic into the lead, but he owes us a pit stop as well because he's been in the car from the start. So there is Amaury Bonduelle getting away, I reckon, now from Matthew Michelotto. That gap is just extending a little, corner by corner, so being stretched between those two. Bonduelle makes the run from turn 9 with 20 minutes and a few seconds still on the clock. And Amaury Bonduelle looking as though this is going to be a victory for him, barring any dramas. What we haven't yet had, of course, with all the pit stops only just being completed, are any reports of times being short. There are still some cars in the pits finishing off the pit stop, so the story of who did what in the pits yet to be told. So at the end of this lap, it should be Bonduelle, Michelotto and Ali as the top 3. There is Claude-Yves Gosselin on his way. So the car that led in will drop the lead back to Bonduelle. Michelotto is certainly falling away in second place then. The margin between those two as they come across the line now 1.7 seconds, so it's more than doubled now. Back into the race goes number 4, so Joran Lernertre gives way to Claude-Yves Gosselin. And Gosselin is going to drop in behind Igor Oroshev there. So Oroshev goes ahead of him, and Gosselin stays ahead for the moment, at least, of Hampus Eriksson. But it's really the class place that we need to be concerned with for this car. So that's Gosselin. And Milos Pavlovic now handing over to Alessio Ruffini. That's the one to keep an eye on in the Pro-Am competition for these remaining 19 minutes of the race. Race leaders then through to turn 5, and the Lernertre, the car there, under attack as he tries to hang on to the place. So all action as far as Claude-Yves Gosselin is concerned. Joran Lernertre's car in the hands of Gosselin, but he's losing places then, isn't he? Because past him has gone Eriksson, past him as well has gone the bright yellow Iron Linked car. So Claude Gosselin on his outlap, falling back now in the queue. Stefan Bostanjiv has gone ahead of him. That's the other place change. So Gosselin trying to regroup, trying to get his head around all of this and not lose too much more ground. That's the race leader, Amaury Bonduelle, up towards the end of the lap. Track limit warnings now have been reset for everybody, so it gives them a little bit more scope maybe to press on, should we put it like that, without incurring the wrath of race control. Leaders go by, and Bonduelle looking solid up front, replaying super slow-mo of the cars coming out of turn 7. That was Hampus Eriksson getting a big whack of the curb and the car being very, very unsettled, and once it's wrong all the way through the next part, so another curb strike beckons. Able to hang on to that, but very dramatic indeed. So race leaders through. As Michelotto got a problem, that car just didn't look quite as quick there coming off turn 4. Either way, he comes now down into turn 6 with the margin being 1.7 seconds, but Amaury Bonduelle just looks the smoother, looks the more solid and consistent here. So they turn their way towards turn 9. Behind them in third place is Lagim Ali. Now, Ali's last lap not as good as the two ahead of him, so he's falling away. Fourth place, there he's in the background. The blue car fourth is Igor Oroshev, who was fractionally faster than Ali last time. Hampus Eriksson is fifth, and now sixth is Bostanjiv. Seventh, still leading Pro-Am, is Claude Gosselin. Eighth is Giorgio Amati. Ninth, Greg Gilbert, and 10th is Quentin Antonell. They're going through is number 9, Lagim Ali at the wheel of it. Just his view. It's turn 13 now. Lagim Ali up to the line, but I reckon he's being caught. Igor Oroshev to the eye, looks a little bit nearer. He took 0.3 of a second out of him in that last sector alone. So as Igor Oroshev goes by, the gap third to fourth is a second, and it's going to be less than that before much longer, surely. Just under 16 minutes of the race to go, and inevitably the warnings and the investigations for pit stop times are now coming. One of which goes the way of number 39, that being Julian Hand's car. Another one is to Cedric Lima, another investigation, Tribodini and Randazzo's car, and the other one is for Nigel Bailly, who'd already been in the gravel once earlier on in the race. So more investigations on pit stop times to be unravelled, and that in turn may well cause one or two drivers to incur penalties. There's also an investigation for quite a number of drivers for cutting turn 2, so race control still very busy in this. Number 42, you can see there, is Giorgio Amati, and he in turn, he's on the back of Stefan Bostanjiv now, working his way to try to gain a place. Now as the two run through together, just ahead is Bostanjiv, but Amati right there behind him. Let's hear from Andrea Frasinetti in the pits with Dakota.
Now, Andrea, it must be hard to stand by and just watch your teammate here in second place. He's losing a little bit of time in sector 2 and in sector 3, a couple of tenths in each one. He's probably about 2 seconds behind the leader now when I last looked. Do you think he can improve that or catch up?
I don't know. Matteo is very fast with his tire, but we'll see because the tires are going dead. I think very, very early. But I think Matteo will try to have another way to interpret the tire.
Obviously, the tire degradation is very high at this kind of track, and especially with the heat today. But obviously, Bonduelle's in the same position, so what makes the difference?
I think to manage the tire on the first stint, I think I did not the best job because I was in the slipstream of Bonduelle and the front tire was suffering a lot. But I think we are in the job to do a good job.
Good luck for the rest of the race. Let's watch on.
So Andrea Frasinetti has to just stand and wait for 13 and a half more minutes before he knows whether or not that's going to be the second place car. And I think it is going to be, because the gap that was 7/10 after the pit stops is now 2.4. Michelotto not being able to match the pace of Amaury Bonduelle right now. So Bonduelle clear up front, and there are penalties coming for being short on the pit stop time. One is going the way of 25. That's the car of Jerzy Spinkovic. Another for Hoylin Han, 39. Claude-Yves Gosselin in the meantime still hanging on to that lead in Pro-Am, but he's dropped quite a long way down the order now, 14th, bearing in mind that Joran Lernertre had that car up in the lead briefly, and not that far behind now is the Pro-Am entry of Bronek Fomenek, number 11. He's taken it over from Stefan Rossina, but the gap's coming down, so Claude-Yves Gosselin is on borrowed time. The car one behind, not the Oregon one, but the next one, is the class rival. So in a moment, 61 there, which is the Oregon team entry, now in the hands of Leonardo Caglioni. That's going to go through, and that's the car that's going to threaten for Pro-Am lead. It's Bronek Fomenek at the wheel of it now. Fomenek had an off yesterday at turn 14, but now he's really in maximum attack mode as he comes down into turn 14. So Claude-Yves Gosselin there, leading in Pro-Am, but for how much longer? Because the Michenek Motorsport powered by Bogira entry is getting closer and closer all the time. There's a yellow flag out in the middle sector. The other classes, Stefan Tribodini is leading his class, number 66, the AM category. And Lamborghini Cup a little bit further back is Shotaram Kazler ahead. There into the braking zone goes number 39, that being Hoylin Han, the Chinese driver. He's got a penalty for being short on the pit stop. And I think the yellow flag has been brought in, so whoever was off the road has rejoined, albeit with a bit of time lost. 11 minutes on the clock now, as you see the fight for third. Lagim Ali just ahead of Igor Oroshev now. Oroshev up behind the Danish driver. And Lagim Ali, with his championship rival set to win the race, cannot afford to lose any more points. So he's got to hang on for all he's worth here, but it's going to be difficult. The yellow was out for Hoylin Han. He had an off and is rejoined, so that was why he was delayed when we saw him there. You've got Ali coming up towards turn 12 now, with right there behind him Egor Oroshev looking to try to make the move. Oroshev, former single-seater racer in the Artline car. The Kazakhstani team comes through turn 14 and up towards the timing line now, but Lagim Ali, the Dane, just ahead and just being able to maintain track position. Bonduelle goes through, and he's now 3.3 seconds ahead. Let's hear from Nigel Bailly. He was in the gravel, but he was on the podium yesterday.
Nigel, now obviously an incident took you out early in the race with car number 90. I know you're fighting for the championship, so this must be very frustrating.
Yeah, it's very frustrating because I'm sure we had a good pace today to make something great. Yesterday we were lucky to finish second, which means that I was able to get a good point at the end of this first race. But, you know, sometimes, I think sometimes some drivers need to be a little bit more clever. We are not fighting in the same category, and that ruined our race, that ruined our championship. So, yeah, that's really shame. That's really a shame, and I think Lamborghini, all the staff must take some precaution. I mean, they have to take some further. Can I say that some more
Review?
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Sorry. I'm a bit stressed because that's really a shame. I'm so sorry for that.
Look, I know it's a shame, but any positives that could be taken out of this is that the car is completely unscathed for the third race. So
I hope so. I mean, the guys, the Artline team is just doing a super job, and they always give me a great car to race and make something great, because as you can see, I'm in a wheelchair. It's not easy sometimes, and I try to do my best. But when you fight for the championship and someone ruin your race at the beginning of it, it's such a shame. It's such a shame. It's very, very... I mean, I hope he is going to talk to me to say sorry, but because it's really a shame.
good luck for the next race. Sorry about this.
Yeah, Nigel Bay on the podium yesterday. It was a really popular result, and real shame that he's out of this race. This is the fight for third. Largim Ali ahead of Igor Orodchev. They're nose to tail, as you can see, as they come into turn one, with the Danish driver Largim Ali just ahead. He's going to have to work hard for another 5 laps or so, really, to keep Orodchev at bay. Igor Orodchev looks the quicker of the two now as they sprint up through turn 3. They're heading into the braking zone for turn 4. There are back markers up the road as well. Largim Ali needs to make that car as wide as possible. Out of turn 5, road drops down the hill a little bit, speed builds on this next section, and this part of the Barcelona track, it's again a bit of those sort of paperclip circuits where you've got a lot of corners all folded into one another, and some hairpins and that switchback nature. It happens up through turn 9, then you've got another straight and then another sequence of hairpins to fold in turns 11, 12 and 13 before the end of the lap. Bonduelle coming up to traffic, and actually Michelotto is falling not only away but into the clutches of Largim Ali. So does Michelotto have a problem? Yes, he's lost a big chunk of time. From 7/10 of a second, it's up to 4 seconds now. But behind him, there's third and fourth, much closer. So Largim Ali, one of the Lamborghini Junior drivers, getting ever closer to Mattia Michelotto. Michelotto for Vincenzo Sospiri's team, and Largim Ali in the Target Racing entry. And then the Artline car of Igor Orodchev next in the queue. They come up towards the line. 7 more minutes on the clock. Another one off the road. Cedric Lima, second off of the race. He got a penalty anyway, but now Lima off at turn 4. So Ali with a flash of the lights against Mattia Michelotto comes down towards turn 1. He wants to get past as soon as he possibly can, but he's also got Igor Orodchev tucked up behind him. So any move he makes, he's got to try and be mindful that if he makes a small error, leaves the door ajar. Orodchev, like that, he's going to have a go. But Orodchev's car doesn't quite have the bite coming off the corner. What about under braking? Ali already covers off that line, but they are reeling in Michelotto, whose last lap was a 49.5. In fact, at the moment, Ali is also lapping quicker than Bonduelle as the race leader. So he's really having a good go late race. They've got Holger Harmsen's car, which got involved with Nigel Bay earlier on. That's the one they're going to lap next. So Michelotto in the white livery, Ali in the black and green. The blue car there, coming out from behind the graphic, is Igor Orodchev as they head up the hill again now. Out of turn 9, Orodchev rides the curb. Michelotto goes way out wide. You can see Amaury Bonduelle in the gold car is escaping up the road as the leader comes into turn 10. And now, up the inside of the traffic goes Michelotto. Orodchev tries to use that to his advantage and see what he can do about making a move against Largim Ali. He tried the outside line and that was not going to work. So he's got to slot back in. Tries the outside up at turn 12 and he needs that switch back. Largim Ali is wise to all of this, but look, Ali is even closer still to Michelotto. Second, third, fourth, drop downhill again now. Into the braking zone they come for turn 14 and then set the car up, nail the throttle, drag it out the other side. 5 minutes are on the clock. 3 more laps then, and this is going to be really difficult seemingly for Mattia Michelotto to hang on in there as they drop down towards turn 1. And Ali is trying to attack and defend, and he's using so much of the curve there to try to make the line for the corner work in his favour. Orodchev still up behind him. And Orodchev always looks pretty quick coming out of turn 3. Can he do it again? As Ali, he will expect, will be thinking about where he can make a move against Mattia Michelotto. The leader is 4.7 seconds up the road. The next corner is going to be a no-go as far as an overtake is concerned because there's a yellow flag showing where Cedric Lima's car came to rest. And there it is. So Lima is out. Drop downhill, Michelotto with possibly a problem now. That car has just not got the pace that it needs in this second stint. He's lost all of that time to the leader and he's now having to work really hard to try to hang on to the battle behind. Up the inside goes Orodchev and up the curb goes Largim Ali. They're going to touch, are they, on the exit? Absolutely side by side on the run up the hill. Orodchev is on the outside line and on the inside line Largim Ali, he's going to lose the place. Michelotto has been able to hang on to second because they've delayed each other by squabbling, but Igor Orodchev now is ahead as they make that run down to turn 10. Largim Ali tries to fight back. He's up the curb. Was there a bit of contact? I think there was. Orodchev is forced out wide. drivers now make the run up the hill again. To the outside line goes Lagim Ali. Can't find a way through there. Rattles it over the curb and now drops out of the corner and ready to come down the hill. And now Lagim Ali losing touch, losing pace as the leaders come through. So Amaury Bonduelle is the race leader to his other. That's Mattia Michelotto is still second, but Igor Orodchev now in third place going after him. So Ali, having lost the place, has lost time, but we're not totally done yet in the fight for second place either, because the pace that Igor Orodchev has got now rather suggests that he is going to be able to make good progress here up onto the back of Michelotto and fight before the end of the race. There is Brendan Leach, who is now in the lead of Pro-Am. He won it yesterday with Tony McIntosh, and they've got themselves up ahead of Formanek, as well as Claude-Yves Gosselin, who has tumbled down the order in the class. So they're the Pro-Am leader. Brendan Leach ahead of Bronek Formanek, and then Dimitri Angelbert in third spot. Formanek goes through, number 11. 22, his teammate, Jochen Galash, behind him on the road. And there, up into second place, has gone Orodchev. He's got past Michelotto now. So Igor Orodchev up into second spot. Driving very, very impressively here is Igor Orodchev, and he's got, what, the best part of 6 seconds to make up against the race leader, 2 minutes on the clock. I don't think he's going to do it, but he's certainly not for giving up. Back marker up the road ahead now as they come into the braking zone for turn 10. And this is how the move came, with just more pace, pure pace. Igor Orodchev down the hill through turn 6, lined it up beautifully and made that work. And now Lagim Ali thinks, well, he might be able to have a go at third place Mattia Michelotto, the car that won yesterday, struggling now. He's just losing pace, as you've seen, lap after lap after lap. Onto the last lap they go, and Bonduelle to Orodchev is coming down. It's 4.6 seconds, but that's too great a gap, I think, with a lap to go. They turn their way out of the corner, wriggle their way out of turn 3. This is Lagim Ali's view. He wants in turn to try to get himself up onto the back of Michelotto for third place. In the Am Cup, Stefan Tribodini leads the way in this car that he shares with Pier Giacomo Randazzo. Randazzo started today. Tribodini brings it home now. So over the line goes Stefan Tribodini. There is Amaury Bonduelle heading for a race win. And whereas yesterday there were penalties to factor in at the end of it for him, today he's just annihilated the opposition. Igor Orodchev runs second, but he's not going to get close enough. And then for third place, Michelotto versus Ali with half a lap to go. In Pro-Am, it is Brendan Leach looking as though a second win of the weekend for him and Tony McIntosh is going to come. And Shotrab Kazama, incidentally, we've not seen much of him today, but he is leading in Lamborghini Cup. He was on the podium yesterday, but he's going to be on the top step of it today, it seems. This is Ali with only a couple of corners ready to go now. Threads his way out of turn 10, and they've both been caught by Hampus Eriksson. We heard from him on the grid, but this is now a three-way battle for third place. There's Eriksson on the tail of it. Ali gets up the inside of Michelotto, up towards turn 13. He's going to try and brake as late as he dares, going into the corner, and he's done it on the inside, and Hampus Eriksson goes through as well. Change for fourth as the checkered flag is waved at Amaury Bonduelle. He wins race 2 of the weekend here in Barcelona. Second is Igor Orodchev, who goes across the line with third, Lagim Ali, fourth, Hampus Eriksson, and down to fifth on the last lap, a troubled Mattia Michelotto. That car just did not have the pace, did it? It was getting slower and slower, and so Lagim Ali up to third on the last lap, and a good effort by Hampus Eriksson as well, putting him into the mix. So the race won impressively today by Amaury Bonduelle. Brendan Leach and Tony McIntosh taking honours in Pro-Am. And the rest of this huge field pours its way across the line, and they're not done yet because there is the third race, an unusual third race for them, based on the grid that was set at Le Mans. So the field comes through Stefan Tribodini and Pier Giacomo Randazzo winning in Am, and it's going to be Shota Abkazova to win in Lamborghini Cup, but there is Amaury Bonduelle victorious. So there, Amaury Bonduelle victorious, and there is the Pro-Am winner, Brendan Leach. But a great drive by Tony McIntosh and Brendan Leach, again, proving good pace, those two, in Pro-Am. We know how good Brendan Leach is, but Tony McIntosh learning about some new circuits, the American driver, so a job well done. And so the cars shortly will come to the pit lane, then make their way to the technical area, and the winning drivers will head to the podium. So Amaury Bonduelle takes the win, and by 4 seconds in the end. Egor Orodchev did get closer, but not close enough to really make a threat today. Not for the want of trying, though. It was certainly a good effort. So the field pours its way down the pit lane. There is Amaury Bonduelle. He arrives under the podium, stops Egor Orodchev getting out of the car, so Amaury Bonduelle lets him do all of that before he squeezes into place. The teams are happy, and Amaury Bonduelle will be a delighted man, because that really does help life in the championship no end. So another victory for Amaury Bonduelle, and with Largim Ali in the end taking third place, but certainly Mattia Michelotto's car struggling, making the most out of misfortune in some cases for his rivals. Crash helmets off. Smiles will be under the balaclavas. So Amaury Bonduelle, the race winner, and he shortly will head towards a microphone. Dakota Jane is down there, and Amaury Bonduelle can celebrate a race 2 win.
Amaury, a big congratulations. That definitely made up for yesterday's race, didn't it? No mistakes.
Yes, I made a mistake yesterday on the braking point. I braking on the dry condition, and at this point of the track was wet, and I couldn't the baller. But today we win the race. I managed very well the race, because we have a lot of degradation on the tire. I don't know what to tell you, but the team did an amazing job on the car.
Are you ready for later, race 3?
Yes, I think it's a little bit more complicated for me, because I start from P6. We will see on the race.
Congratulations.
Yeah, the grid for the third race based on the qualifying times that were set at Le Mans, because it's the carryover race from there, so it's going to be a very different feel to that race as well. Right, so Amaury Bonduelle the victor, and winning by just under 5 seconds from Egor Orodchev, with Oliver Söderström and Largim Ali finishing in third place. So 10 minutes to 5 local time will be the third Lamborghini race of the weekend, and Amaury Bonduelle looking to see whether he can take another victory of the afternoon. Brendan Leach, Tony McIntosh are AM winners there with Dakota.
Stefan, it was a great race. I mean, you started all the way in the back and you finished first. This is great points for your championship.
Clearly, after what happened yesterday, it was a bit disappointing. I know we were still leading, but this race is really a good race for us. I'm really proud about Piero, about this stint, because he avoided all the mistakes, the contact on the first stint. He gave me a perfect car on a good position already before. So after I pushed a lot between the pit window to make a gap, I was second just after the pit window and overtook the first in the first lap to make the pressure on him directly. It works well. And at the end, we have to manage a lot the tire degradation because it was really hot today. But so happy, so proud about Piero, about the team. We are still leading with a big point the championship, so really happy.
Fantastic job, well done.
Thanks a lot, bye-bye.
So, AM winner Stefan Garin, apologies, that was who we were hearing from, and there's been a penalty applied in that class as well to shuffle the order. But this, the provisional result outright, Amaury Bonduelle the winner from Egor Oroshev, and then Oliver Söderström and Largim Ali in third from Hampus Eriksson, with Mattia Michelotto and Andrea Frasinetti falling to sixth, then Giorgio Amati and Jesse Salmonautio behind them. The class winners, you can see Tony McIntosh and Brendan Leach 14th, and then further back 21st Stefan Garin from the AMS, Shahram Kazala 31st, winning in Lamborghini Cup. Stefan Garin taking honours. Bronek Formanek fell away towards the end of the race, and there were one or two others I think that had problems, but Shota Abkazova, a class winner from yesterday's Lamborghini Cup winners, Petra Matic and Paolo Biglieri, with the Privitello family, father and son, taking third. Let's look at the highlights then of that race that began with Amaury Bonduelle converting pole position into the lead, Andrea Frasinetti chasing after him on the run down towards turn one. Tucked up behind them, the turquoise car of Joran Lenertra, and Oliver Söderström on the outside line also tried to get into the act. Egor Oroshev was a little bit stuck in traffic, but he'd make his mark later on in the race as the cars streamed their way up through the sequence of corners at turns 1, 2 and 3. Those that ran out wide sensibly used the bypass to get back on track and not risk penalties, but we had Holger Harmsen and Nigel Bailly in grief and ending up in the grab, which Harmsen was given a penalty and an early safety car situation developed. Race back underway, everyone then trying to work their way through trouble, but Oliver Freimuth got turned around by Cedric Lima, and Lima was given a penalty for that. He would ultimately retire as Bonduelle in the pit window served the regulation stop. Battles on track included Egor Oroshev making the move on the inside, going ahead of Largim Ali for third place. And better was to come for Oroshev before the very end. Some great racing between those two, but Oroshev eventually made that move stick and was able to set off in pursuit of Mattia Michelotto for second place. He took second, dropping down the hill towards turn 6, and then started to charge on in pursuit of the leader. Largim Ali got past Michelotto as well. Amaury Bonduelle took the win, and at 10 to 5 there will be race 3 of the weekend. We'll see you for that later in the afternoon. Bye for now.